What can this simple keychain tell us about bike prices and bike availability? I'm going to come back to this keychain, we'll see how it all ties together. I want to let you know this is not the normal KevCentral video, but it's important. And it's based off a series of events that connected some dots for me. Let's see if you agree. First, I need to talk about the T word, and stick with me on this because there's a major plot twist coming. But the T word that has to do with trade, this is the best graphic I could find. I'm talking about tariffs, and more specifically, how tariffs could affect us as budget bike shoppers. Now don't worry, there's not any politics injected into this. I don't care what your views are about anything else. We come here at KevCentral together to indulge in our favorite hobby, buying and sometimes modifying budget bikes. And because budget is so important to us, anything that could affect the price of bikes or bike products, that's when we really need to pay attention. Especially anything that has to do with bicycles of any type, because there's about a 99% chance that if you're on a bike or you ride a bike, either it or some parts on it come from China. And being that we have now levied, I believe, 145% tariffs at the time of making this video, and China has countered, potentially not good for consumers, and this comes at a time that I view as critical for cycling, or at least some cycling brands. It's no secret, we hit peak bike during the 2020 pandemic. It was the perfect scenario for bike popularity. Many people were stuck at home, some with nothing to do, and there was the extra money. Remember those checks we were all getting? Expendable income plus free time equals searching for new hobbies. And that just so happened to coincide with the Trio. The first time manufacturers had delivered on what we'd said we'd wanted all along. Tapered head tubes, one-by drivetrains, on affordable bikes sold at Walmart. And then a fourth bike dropper ready, and then everyone getting into cycling, shelves started to empty. And I can't find it in my terabytes worth of data, but somewhere I have a picture of Walmart bike racks without a single bike on them, something I thought I would never see. And it wasn't just bikes that we were short on, but it really did affect the cycling community. And that made bikes not only something people wanted, but something that was hard for them to get, made them want it even more. And bike manufacturers, bike shops, they were doubling, tripling their orders, hoping they could get their hands on anything. And when I talked to industry insiders and found out just how much they were ordering, how popular things were, I called it in a video. I said, oh, this balloon is gonna burst. And sadly, it has. It's a tough market right now for bike manufacturers all the way down to bike shops. More bikes than there are customers to buy them. A glut of inventory, never good for a company selling something, temporarily though good for consumers. I've been able to share with you some amazing deals that are a byproduct of that. And that at first sounds really good, except for the brands that are trying to make it. And we depend upon those brands to survive, for the cycling community to thrive. But it gets worse for them. Add to a glut of inventory the fact that people are back in the office, back to their lives, so less time to do extracurricular activities, and no extra free money coming in. It's a tough set of circumstances for bike brands trying to move existing inventory to fewer potential buyers. Now there are outliers, bigger companies like Walmart that I think can probably weather this a little better. They have supply chain management down to an art form in my opinion. They've even rolled out new Ozark trail bikes very successfully. But in my opinion, even Walmart, if tariffs stay at the levels they're currently at, they'll have to pass those costs down to the consumer. And that means our budget bikes get less budget. And I'm starting to hear pangs of panic from my contacts in the bike industry, whom I regularly speak with. And for about the past 6 months, anytime I would talk to anyone, I would ask them about tariffs and how that's going to affect them. They would pass it off. But now they sound very concerned. And it's not just the tariffs I think are having an effect here. It's a byproduct of the tariffs, the retaliation, the canceled orders, the canceled shipments, supply chain problems. If orders aren't being relayed, boats aren't moving, things aren't going to make it to stores. And that takes 3 to 6 months to have an effect, and from what I hear, that could soon be a concern. Even if we don't factor that in, there's already an effect I'm starting to see, and for that we can go back to that keychain I started this video with. I've had my eye on this from Aliexpress for the past 3 months, and it's always been, give or take a few cents, $2.90. So I ordered it. It took 2 weeks to receive, and I liked it so much I thought I would order more. But to my surprise, I went back to Aliexpress, and they're no longer $2.90. They went from $2.90 to $5.43 and have stayed there since that point. Remember, I watched them for about 3 months and they were always about $2.90. The Shimano MT200 brakes I've had in my car for the past couple of weeks that were $37 and change, they're now $59.28. And as I glance through Aliexpress, I'm seeing price increases on most of the items I've been looking at for months. And sadly, it gets worse. Other items I've had in my cart, are now mysteriously unavailable to me because of my location. And as coincidence would have it, the day that I figured out there were items that I just couldn't get anymore that I've always been able to get on Aliexpress, I met someone via scooters, but also happened to be into mountain bikes, that just happens to also be a cargo shipping agent that deals with shipments like, say, coming from China. And I asked them, is it true that shipments are being halted, that orders are being canceled? And they said yes, absolutely, and it's going to be a problem. And they mentioned some very large clients that thought they were good because they stocked up ahead of time, but things have escalated to the point that they're growing very concerned. And I've always used Aliexpress as sort of a bellwether, because if you're not familiar with Aliexpress, you're buying direct from China, not through Amazon, not through anywhere else, direct from the sellers in China. So when I can't get the items, or the items are doubling or greatly increasing in price, I can see the writing on the wall. Add to that the potential scarcity situation, which generally also drives price up and demand up. If I see stuff I can't get, shipping agents are telling me there's stuff that's not coming in. Well, it doesn't take an economist to see where this could go for the average consumer, and not good for people like me, people like you, that depend upon budget products. Even small price increases, a big deal to me. Add slight disruptions, scarcity into that. Well, let's just hope it doesn't get bad. We'll know, I guess, in the next few months. How extreme do I think this is going to be? Well, obviously, I don't know that. But I do know something is up, but also this is where the video takes that twist I was talking about. Our chance to make lemonade out of lemons, at least in the cycling realm, because what if I said, at least in the short term, this might be a good thing? What if all that extra inventory, the brands that have bikes that they can't find buyers for, what if the shortages create an equalization effect, or possibly even a new scarcity effect? People want stuff they can't have. Could that reignite bike sales, or at the very least, excess inventory could catch up with demand somewhat? If you have nothing new coming in for a few months, and you have excess inventory, it seems like after a few months of selling that excess, you end up right where you need to be, hoping, of course, that things have equalized somewhat by that point. A potential silver lining, at least for the bike industry, I don't know. It's a thought. Now I want to know, what do you think? Have you noticed anything price-wise creeping up? Are you concerned? And what do you think is going to happen to the price and availability of bikes? Comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.